I'm Rebecca Virginia, and today I'm bringing you brand new spring Dollar Tree DIYs. Let's jump into the first craft. I am so ready to get started with the Easter DIYs, and there is no better way to kick off Easter crafting than with some bunny DIYs. First one, I needed something new for my front door. I saw the bunny wreath hanger from Dollar Tree, and I don't usually do many wreath decor DIYs, so I wanted to try something new and try my hand at wreath making. This bunny form, like I said, is from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be using some nautical decorative rope. There are two different kinds. There is nautical decorative rope, and then there's one that's just a nautical rope. And I learned kind of the hard way that they are two different sizes. I like the decorative one better. It's a little bit smaller. But before I could go ahead in with that decorative rope and wrap it all around the bunny form, the form was actually pretty slippery, and I didn't really have enough to hot glue the nautical rope to. So instead, I decided to cover everything with a base layer of this small jute or twine that you can also find in the Crafter's Square section. This just made it really nice. Then when I went in with the rope, it wasn't so slippery, and it also provided me a space to use my hot glue. Every couple times that I would wrap around the nautical decorative, remember the nautical decorative rope, there is a difference. Every few times that I would wrap that around, I went ahead and added a touch of hot glue just to make sure that everything stayed in place. And again, when I added the hot glue to the actual wreath form itself, it wasn't wide enough to really put on the hot glue. I'm sure someone more experienced in wreath making would be able to do this, but I think this was my first time actually using a wreath form from Dollar Tree. So for me, it was just a lot easier to wrap everything in jute first, and then I didn't have to worry about it slipping and sliding. This whole process was a little bit time consuming, but overall very easy. You're just wrapping the rope around the wreath form. The only section that I got a little difficult is right here in between the two bunny ears, just because that is a very small space, and I was using, rope, which is a little bit wider than something like a jute. But as I was wrapping it around, I'm not sure if it was because it was a Dollar Tree wreath form or not, but it was pretty easy to kind of pull apart the two bunny ears and create space for that rope. So once I just kind of gently pulled those ears apart, it was pretty easy to keep continuing with the rope. I did that all the way around my bunny ears before I moved into the wreath form. This is also when I had to go into my second set of nautical rope, and that's when I went in with the actual nautical rope, not the decorative one, and I realized that it was much thicker and wider than the decorative rope, so I had to go back out to my local Dollar Tree and pick up some more of the decorative nautical rope. Similar to how I did the ears, I covered our entire wreath form again with jute. Not only was this great because it was able to provide that space for me to add a little bit of hot glue, but because I couldn't get the nautical rope perfectly lined up every time, instead of being able to see through to some blank space of the wreath or be able to see through the wreath, the jute matched perfectly with the nautical rope and was able to get in to some of those tinier, hard to reach places, like around the bunny ears, so I didn't have to go quite as heavy-handedly in when I did the decorative rope. To decorate our bunny's ears, I picked up some of this gingham fabric from the Dollar Tree in the black and white pattern, and I first just laid it down and kind of cut a smaller strip of it to work with, and then I grabbed my hot glue gun and flipped my wreath on the other side, added some hot glue, and then just pressed down my fabric and turned it over just to make sure that everything was aligned and no parts were peeking through. And I did the exact same thing with the other ear, laying down some hot glue, then smoothing my fabric out, and again, just making sure that everything was covered with that fabric. I grabbed some of my pinking shears and just cut down some of that material, and then I did go in with a smaller set of my detailing fabric scissors to get extra close to the ears and trim off all of that excess fabric. To make my two bows here, I'm showing you the second one. I used a really easy technique. You just kind of zigzag the ribbon back and forth. This is the wired burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree. It works best with the wired ribbon. And because you're not going to see the center area of my bow, this is a really great technique because it doesn't really make the prettiest center in the world. You could tie it with jute, but I just grabbed a zip tie to basically hold the entire bow together. And then I went in with some scissors and trimmed off the tails. So you can see I have the two bows. I have one in that gingham pattern, and then I also have the smaller burlap one on top. And like I said, you're not going to be able to see the center area of these bows, which is why I used these zip ties. Instead, I grabbed the jute carrots from Dollar Tree and just hot glued them together in this trio and went ahead and hot glued that to the center of the bows. Also, I did not show this in the video, I completely forgot, but I did make a small nautical rope loop on the back so that I could hang this wreath on my front door. If you're new to my videos, hello and welcome. I'm Rebecca Virginia, and on this channel, I make DIYs and home decor, especially using a Dollar Tree or other inexpensive products. If that sounds like something you are interested in, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss out on a future video. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, where I post what crafts I'm working on and also take you shopping with me to Dollar Tree and other stores. The next DIY is a reversible one. I had two different styles in mind and just could not decide if I wanted to go with the fun spring prints or more of the farmhouse look, so I decided to do both, which I am going to show you. And it is using the wood bunny heads from Dollar Tree. They come out with these year after year. I've picked them up in the past, and I was originally going to do a faux tree similar to what I did for Valentine's Day, where I made the wood hearts look like cookies. But for this one, instead, I wanted to go a little bit more traditional for the front side of our bunny face. So I just grabbed some white chalk paint from Waverly and I painted the entire bunny on the front and also on the back. To give it more of a farmhouse feel, I like to just stress any of my projects. It's just a quick and easy way to take something maybe more modern and clean looking and give it that farmhouse touch. So to do this, I'm taking my chip brush, which is by Apple Barrel, and then I took some stain by Waverly in the color Antique, and I'm just going all around the edges of the bunny and then a little bit very gently down the front, just so that it wasn't completely stark white and we have a little bit of that brown color coming through. To add some greenery and give it a nice touch of spring, I went in my floral stash that I have, and I had a couple of these little greenery picks, so I went ahead and hot glued those down. And then I also had some of this ribbon. It's from the Dollar Tree, and you can usually find it in the section where the glass is, usually like vases, glasses, candles. So it tends to be near that rather than with the other ribbons. And then I took this wood flower, which is from Solo Wood Flowers, but Dollar Tree also sells a extremely similar looking flower. And then I had a little white button, so I went ahead and hot glued that to the center of our DIY. So this is the front side and this is the back side. So you'll have to let me know down in the comments below, which one do you like better? Are you more into the colorful version, or do you like more of that classic farmhouse look? Make sure to let me know. So to create this, I flipped over our wood bunny and I had a stencil. I will have it linked down below. I did use my cutting machine to cut this out, but you could also print it out and cut it out yourself. So I laid down this stencil and then went in with some of my paint colors. I usually get a comment or two about the paint colors I use, so I'll go ahead and walk through those. The pink I used is Waverly, and the color name is Ballet Slipper, so I used that for the tulips. Then I went in with a little bit of a brighter pink color. This one is called Calypso Coral by Apple Barrel. And next I went in with a color, it's Lavender by Folk Art, and it's kind of a bright purple, so I was surprised that it's called lavender, but that's what it was called. And then on the greenery pieces, for the lighter greenery, I used the shade Celery by Waverly, and for the darker green, I went in with the shade Moss by Waverly. And everyone who is a crafter knows the best part of using a stencil is when you get to peel it off and reveal your finished product. This stencil, I made it a little bit too small, so I did lay it back down and went over it again with some of those green leaves and a couple of the pink hearts to make sure that it filled out our entire wood bunny form. Then I took some raffia and I just tied it in a bow, And using a similar white button to the one that we used on the front of this DIY, I went ahead and hot glued that down into place. I think that I am partial towards the one with all of the bright colors because I'm really just wishful thinking that it was spring right now. So I think I'm gonna go with the brighter color one as my favorite. The next DIY is an unbelievably easy one, and it is using one of the wood tags that I picked up a couple of weeks ago at the Dollar Tree. I recently made a Dollar Tree spring haul video where I showed you a lot of the really nice wood blank signs, which are perfect for crafting. So this one is the tag sign, and to start off, I wanted to color the beads. So I grabbed some of my Waverly stain in the shade Antique, and for every other wood bead, I went in with a wet paper towel and a little bit of stain just to give those round beads some color. And I forgot to film it, but on the natural beads in between the stained ones, I did paint those white just so they were a little bit brighter. I have been so impressed with the Dollar Tree rub-on transfers lately. I think they are definitely giving Cricut a bit of a run for its money because these transfers are so nice. I especially love the ones that are colored. I decided to go with the Simply Blessed transfer. I only cut out the Blessed, and it's actually an extremely dark green. You can't really tell it on camera, but in person, it's a really gorgeous dark forest green. Then I had picked up these wood bunnies. Also, I included that in my spring haul. I'll make sure to link that above if you missed it. And they're so cute, but besides just kind of using them as table scatter, I wasn't really sure how I was going to actually DIY with them. But I thought they looked great on this tag, and then I went ahead and rubbed on the Blessed transfer underneath of the bunny. I know everyone in my last video told me to pick up some popsicle sticks next time out at the Dollar Tree, and I forgot, but I will remember, so I did just use the back of a bamboo skewer to transfer the Blessed saying onto our tag sign. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, keep searching, keep creating.